What's the purpose behind the marketing plan? You excite, you educate, experience, and engage. Let's do this, right? Let's do this and let's have fun with it too. To my first time listeners, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate you being here. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Marketing with N-Dub, where I'm your host, Nathan A. Webster, and I'm excited to chop it up with you today. Today for episode 200, and it's going to be 201. It's my celebration of 200 episodes under the Let's Talk Marketing with N-Dub. But yo, I have been doing this for, oh my God, it's probably like 600 episodes. I've been doing this since 2016. Oh my gosh. It's been like 600 episodes. But I want to celebrate 200 episodes with you. So, yo, I want to just get right into it. It's going to be different. I'm kind of all over the place right now. This is going to be a two-parter because I'm really, and I do want to apologize for last week's audio. It just didn't work out for some reason. It just was not working the way I planned. I'm trying to make sure that my audio is good here. So I'm checking and I should be good. But sometimes it's like, am I good? Until I find out I'm not good. So I was like, So in this, and my audio does look good. It's just not going as fast as I want, but we're good. We're good. So we're going to keep this show going. And we're going to keep it pushing. So, episode 200 is something that I realized that I didn't realize I was going to do it until I was going to do it. And I wanted to keep it real for a lot of folks because I realized that we live in a very transactional world. And as you see, my BU, right? As I've been doing marketing for the last officially 9 years, but I've been doing marketing for probably about 20 years to keep it real. And in marketing, it is very interesting how it has evolved, particularly in the last 5 years, due to, I would say, a lot of it due to cell phones. And with cell phones, you have social media. And with social media, the platforms, and it's become, because of the pandemic, has been made us isolated. And it has made us very weary about how we connect and who we engage with and who we talk to, and the authenticity of how we go about doing things is not the way we used to. And I was having a conversation with somebody, and as for my first time listeners, I want to thank you for coming on. For my worldwide listeners, I want to say thank you for continuing to doing this, because as I said, I was going to monetize this a few years ago. I'm still planning on monetizing this, but this is something different, which is why I'm taking this different route. The guy told me that he did not want to engage with someone else that was other than his generation. I was like, why is that? It's like, they don't understand me. And that's where we begin. So back in the day when I was running a nonprofit, and this is why it's a two-parter, I wanted to set this up correctly. My goal was to be an after-school spot, and in being the after-school spot, I wanted to be that 3 to 6 back in the day before cell phones, where it was the after-school spot for some of those that are old enough to understand, from the after-school special. The 3 to 6 hour was when school let out. That's when there was the most issues with school back in the day. It's funny, you never hear about that now. Well, I was building school programs to combat that, to deal with at-risk activities, etc. So I wrote curriculum, and the goal was to build a community center to deal with teenagers, but it was going to be from cradle to grave, which means it was going to be a full service community center with wraparound services. And we were going to provide that, and not just for teenagers, but it was going to be one that wasn't dependent upon a tax system. So it wasn't going to be public. we were going to function off of private dollars exclusively. So to not bore you with those details, my goal was to keep that solely focused on that. So as I was doing this, I was also working full time. So with that said, I wasn't in my office full time. However, I got knocks on my doors 3 times. 3 is like the magic numbers, right? But in these times I got knocks on my door, someone sent these people, and I apologize if you hear the noise outside my window. They're doing some cleaning, so my apologies. My mic shouldn't pick it up. Hopefully they don't. So at these knocks, these people came to me, and it's going to come later on because the title of this episode is "When Excuse Run Out, It Forces Results." Okay, so at the time, I was shaking and moving. I was doing big things. I was happy with where I'm at. But when these people came to my door, I was like, why are these people coming to my door? And I was like, I'm glad I have an office and I'm glad I can do these things, but this is not a service I provide. I've never, ever, ever, ever said I provided these services. So when I got further into my journey and realized, as my nonprofit journey, and realized, you know what, this isn't going to work out because of the cell phones, right? I decided to phase out and realize, to sell it to another entity, and that was that. But then I started my I said nonprofit consultancy, but it was the marketing agency. Now that's why I started to say marketing has become something different. So when I first started this nonprofit consultancy that was going to be a fundraising arm, it was really interesting how I thought I was going to use it to build my nonprofit to make this huge jump to where we were going to need the support outside of the Pacific Northwest, until one of my subcontractors said, you know what, Nathan, we're really a marketing agency. And I said, you know what? We're right. Now, let me tell you how this title comes in. And for all my entrepreneurs, all my freelancers, for all my listeners out here, this is what I tell you where it begins to matter. Now, you may say, this is what I want to do, but the impact you're making may not fall under that reality. Reality is something that sometimes we are in denial about. And when denial hits, how do you receive that? That was my first denial of where I was like, kind of, but I couldn't deny the fact that our first job was across the country in Florida, and we built a website. We earned the bid to build a website from a marketing boutique firm in Florida. I had to turn off my Google ads because I was like, you know what? I think I do know what I'm doing. And that wasn't a nonprofit. My next job was not a nonprofit. So it started to make sense. And I was like, I kind of struggled with it, but I was like, I'm supposed to be supporting my nonprofit. How is this supporting my nonprofit? But it was putting food on my table. But then Uber came. And then when Uber came, I was like, okay, I can put cash flow in the business. And cash flow was great, right? I could pay my bills because we were a startup. Both at the time, the co-founder and I, we were going about it, and we was like, okay, we just need startup meat. We need cash. We need cash to pay the bills, because when you start the business, woo, it is tight, but you got to pay the business bills, and you try to do both, and it's hard juggling. At the time, I was working I was coming out of situations where I was working this job in graveyard, but during the day I was going to networking, and I was really in a lot of ways living a double life. And I was trying to pay the bills, but then the bills for my personal life, working graveyard security, but then during the daytime paying the bills of the business, trying to do the nonprofit consultancy and running the nonprofit. And the nonprofit wasn't paying the bills, but the nonprofit consultancy / marketing consultancy was paying the bills. And then that's when my subcontractor said, and they were only with me for a short time, and that's when they said, we got to pull the plug, essentially. So I said, okay, let's pull the plug. So remember that story about those 3 knocks, because I'm going to come back to it before I go into the next episode, which you got to make sure you join me for next week. All right. I'm going to go more into that because that's where the results, I'm going to really start talking about the results and go into why it's so important to embrace when the excuses run out and why you need to not be in denial and why it's important to keep going, just keep grinding, right? Because this is why it's not easy, and especially in marketing, when you say like, well, I'm just going to get to it. You can't get to it. And why marketing is just not something you push off and put aside and just say, oh, I'll get to it. No, you better get to it before you get to what you think you need to get to. So when we were starting to do Uber and I was putting money into the bank, it felt great. It was doing good. It was, man, the bee's knees, as they would say, until it created a problem because I was not focusing on the business as I should. But it allowed me to stop the graveyard gig and it allowed me to do the number one thing full time. But like I said, I put too much emphasis on working it as a job rather than the business. Now, this is where I wanted to make this episode 200 about is understanding when you are working on the business and in the business. Now, this celebratory 200, woo, woo, 200 is about, man, learning how to work in the business and on the business is not easy. Y'all, I get it. When you're a startup, when you're a freelancer, man, it is hard work. The odds are stacked against you. You are not to make it. Where they say every 9 businesses fail in the first year, or you're not supposed to make it. If you're making it, it's because you're doing something right, and a lot of it is you're not giving up. However, the question never is asked, are you growing? Is a question asked, is your business succeeding? Is a question asked, how is your clientele doing? Is your clientele re-upping? Are you taking, like, we have websites, right? Websites are expensive. And at the time, I wasn't selling hosting. I was going to someone else. Now I sell hosting, but I didn't have clients re-upping with me, and I wasn't maintaining a healthy relationship with my clients. I know how to do that now, but back when I started, I wasn't doing that, right? So when it came down to learning how to have a healthy relationship with my clients, this is where I was failing because I was like, I'm just working in Uber, putting cash in the business, paying the bill because I was treating it like a job. How many of you are treating your company as I will get to it when I get to it? Y'all, that's a mistake. Do not treat your business that you will get to it when you get to it. It is a baby. I know you hear that term, that cliche, that adage all the time. I will get to it when I get to it. You got to nurture the baby. Let me tell you, it is not something that you think, like, if you're going to put 8 hours in on the job, you better put 8 hours in your business. Now, I will say, you don't have to put in 8 hours like the 8 hours you put in on your job because you're working on a system someone built for that company. What system have you put in for your company? What processes, what tasks have you built? And this is the part sometimes when someone says, look, Nathan, I need lead generation. Sometimes I got to go in and build a system to where they can handle lead generation. The funny thing is, it was great when I was teaching in the college and I would bring speakers in to talk to students. They were like, starting a business is easy. Sustaining it is hard. When Sears was going out of business, when Toys R Us was going out of business, and it's always great during an election year because businesses are like very, very, very conscientious of what they say and how they go about doing things because they get a microscopic lens get put on them, right? And so these are the things when at the time I didn't know, but I was going through a life transformation of where I truly was being an entrepreneur. And this was around 20, well, it was 2015. Okay. So I became an entrepreneur in 1999. but I didn't embrace the entrepreneur lifestyle until 16 years later. So you can say, you can do, you can be around it, but until life happens, and for me, I had excuses run out to me in 2016. I'm about to go into it, and I want to just prep you for it, because there's some stuff that it shouldn't be maybe for some folks. And they're gonna say, "Oh, Nathan, da, 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 da." I'm gonna say some stuff because there is in one episode in my old episodes, I was like, "There's some stuff that went down today that I'm gonna tell you about. I'm gonna tell you about it in the next episode." But I'm gonna tell you about it before I get off here. Was um, when I got a phone call where I was going to go to a meeting, and they were like, "Hey, um, did you know that you were supposed to be here?" I was like, "No, no one let me know this." And they were like, "Yeah, you need to get here." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I got there, and my life changed. My life changed to the point to where I couldn't do Uber anymore. Um, Now, I'm not going to tell the whole world what that means. If you want to have that, I can tell you in a different way. And I can be a lot personal, but I'm telling you this story because I just want to help someone, because we are in a place where people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, as in their calling, because they're scared. Because when I got those three knocks were connected to where me stopping from being an Uber driver. I got those three knocks in 2009 and 2010. 6-7 years later, those knocks will come back to haunt me. They would come back to haunt me in a way that I thought I was serving my community. I thought I was helping my people. I thought I was giving back. I thought I was doing all the things I thought I was doing. And then when it happened to me, I thought I was the worst hypocrite. I thought everything that I said and everything I did was hypocritical. I didn't know who I was. I questioned who I was. And then I thought, what the hell am I doing? I didn't have hope. I wasn't suicidal. Let's make sure that was correct. So don't put that on me. But I was in a place in my life where I was like, what am I doing? Because what I thought was good was no longer good, because when those three people came to my door, the folks that had me in a position of complete compromise, I was liable, or my liability, my assets were all, I had nothing. And I was like, what the hell I was going to do? I realized I was in a much better place than those people, and they came to me, and I had absolutely nothing for them, because I was blind to the fact of the darkness that was really out there. And here I am saying, I'm the guy that can help you and do these things, and yet I had zero. So now here I am. I can't Uber. I can't make any money for my company. On top of that, that's in my current life. And when I look back about 10 years ago, I'm like, am I a fraud? And so now I'm thinking to myself, wow, not only do I have to rethink the choices that put me in that decision where, like, I'm going to start a nonprofit and change lives and build this awesome community center and help folks that help the kids are at risk. Now I got to think about what happened to the adults that came to me. And now I'm thinking about, what about the entrepreneurs and the small businesses I said I was going to help? I can't even help them because I can't put money in my bank account. So now what? What am I supposed to do? And all the excuses that I had about this and about that, I'm like, Nathan, I had a lot of curse words at the time. I'm not going to say it on the show, right? But I had to stop saying excuses. I had no more excuses. I had to stop the excuses. So this little celebratory like 200, I was like, hey, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. We in 2024, whenever you're going to listen to this, whenever you're downloading, whatever you're going through, there is something that is keeping you behind, keeping you down, that you got an excuse for, that you think it's a reason. And let me tell you, I had to look back over my life that I'm about to go into in the next episode. And I had to evaluate, as my man Eric Thomas said, you got to self-assess. And I had to say to myself, what's really the issue? And that issue slapped me in my face so hard. I had to look at myself in the face and say, am I being me? So with that, hey, tune in for part 2 of this episode. If you liked it, please leave a review. Please hit me up. Hey, if you want to follow me on my social channels, go down in the show notes. I hope you liked it. We hit 200, y'all. I just want to bless you out there, because look, don't think because someone's living this type of life or whatever, or you see me moving like this, don't think I haven't had my problems, okay? So look, we all are going through something. Don't think what you are going through is less than or not as. So look, we all are going through something, and I'm about to share what happened to me in the next episode. Stay tuned. See you next time. Until then, wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed. What's the purpose behind the marketing plan? You excite, you educate, experience, and engage. Let's do this, right? Let's do this, and let's have fun with it too. To my first-time listeners, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate you being here.